Hey Paige, this is Jared. So good to hear from you, especially at this point in time where I feel isolated in my home office or my office on campus here at USF. Um, I was here periodically throughout the week just to get away from the noise of my four kids at home. And it's a ghost town. As I drive by Lincoln High School, I drove by Roosevelt the other day. It's the same can be said in K-12 schools, and it's almost an eerie, strange feeling. So I do hope that you're handling it well. Please reach out if you have concerns or questions beyond just these Friday emails to me. I wanted to ask you how the job search goes, if you've received any inquiries, anything like that. So keep me posted. Let me know how that is all working out. And I really appreciate the openness that you presented in this reflection this week. You talk about this transition to online learning. You talk about dividing your role and Justin's role, and hopefully you are feeling like you're still able to do stuff, right? And you're able to log that. So come the end of the semester, we can put a stamp on this and validate, yes, Paige has gotten well beyond what she needed to regarding the experience of teaching, both in person and online. Um, so your first paragraph, you talk a whole lot about feedback, and I think that is one of the wonderful blessings of moving to kind of an online environment. There are definitely some negatives to it, but the blessing is that through the video conferencing, we are able to hit students on a one-on-one basis. And when you talk about providing feedback to each student, I think that's wonderful because I can relate to this challenge, especially with ninth graders, crafting a thesis statement, trying to get the whole layout of the essay, what this looks like, how important it is to start right and to start solid so you can build from that. What I think I'll do is I'm just going to attach a lesson that I recorded just recently for my assessment and evaluation class because it seems to be quite timely and it just talks through feedback. I can't remember how long it is, less than a half an hour. But you might want to just take a look at that if you have some downtime now that you're not going into the classroom every day at 7:30 and leaving at 4. Just take a look at that, see if there's any suggestions or ideas that might help you in providing feedback to students. I didn't anticipate when I designed the lecture that it would be for online feedback, but I think you might be able to pull some gold nuggets out of that anyways. So you're talking about, let's see, what else did I want to hit here? I thought there was one other thing. Oh yeah, this idea of having your advanced students sort of peer review your general students, I think is fantastic. Tell me more about how this might work out. As you think about planning this, are you going to organize it? Are you going to put them into teams and then have them email or exchange some way, or share a Google Doc, or what does this look like? Because I do think this is really intelligent teaching because you're recognizing, I think you mentioned 75 students in your general class. You are probably not going to be able to provide the level of detailed feedback to those 75 students that you might be able to your 1 or 2 classes of advanced students. And so I think anything you can do before those papers get to you, just to channel students' work through sort of another filter through their peers in peer review, before those papers get to you, I think is a fantastic idea. I'm just curious what that's going to look like or what you're thinking it might look like in this online environment. And then my heart breaks for this student you talk about, who I actually I might just anonymously send this quote that you give to some of the other profs in the Frederickson School of Education, because what you say is we both understand this is a hard time for many of our students. This student here who has no internet, who's been doing their assignments on their phone, also being evicted from their apartment, which I'm hearing more and more stories of. I heard a terrible story yesterday about somebody who tested positive for COVID-19, and so the landlord was like, "You're out." And they wanted to do what was right, which was isolate themselves from other people, but their only option was to literally live in their car and not even go into a gas station to get water because they were worried about infecting other people. And so, I mean, we're living in this circumstance where I'm in my home and I'm struggling because I have 4 kids and a dog and a wife who needs to work too, and we're trying to just balance it all. But my heart breaks for those people who aren't able to work from home, right? Who literally lost their job, who maybe don't have a home because of this circumstance. And I think the repercussions of this, of closing down the schools, of closing down businesses, are going to echo for years to come. But you note here that this is a crash course on trauma-sensitive teaching, and that it makes you very glad to have a mentor teacher who's aware of this and what it looks like, even as you transition to this new model of teaching. So I'm going to end it there. Just wanted to put a face and a voice to this conversation rather than just typing up 3 paragraphs or whatever in an email response. So I do hope you're well. Stay in touch. Keep me posted on questions you might have. And the most important thing to just think about accountability-wise, Paige, is log this stuff. Log anything that you're doing so that we are able to say, yes, you invested X number of hours doing this, communicating with students, feedback, all of that kind of stuff. And I would add, I guess, at the very end too, you note that you're trying to figure out the appropriate level of communication with students, and this Google Voice number, and is that appropriate or isn't it? One of the things that I'm hearing or I'm reading, and this is mostly higher ed, but I think it could be applicable to K-12 as well, is when profs are or teachers are in communication with students, say we're having some kind of web chat or something like that, consider recording that and just keeping it on your hard drive, not doing anything with it. But the worst case scenario would be some student alleges that there was some sort of impropriety. And that's a way of you sort of backing up what it is that you're doing, especially if it's one-on-one. If it's in a larger group and you have several students involved in the chat or whatever it might be, there you have some accountability. But I do encourage you to continue thinking through what this might look like. Talk to Justin about it, because this is sort of a new world for us, and we want to reach out to students in this time. We want to establish and maintain those connections, but we also want to guard ourselves to make sure there's nothing that could even be viewed slightly as inappropriate at this time. So continue thinking through that. Let me know what sort of conclusions you draw from that, as well as bringing the advanced students into the Gen Ed classes. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So stay well, stay safe, and let me know about that job.